another video in Washington Square Park. I was gonna film last night. I was like, I should make this vlog daily. And I had the moment. I was sitting in this bar in Bushwick and there was this jazz jam and we were just chilling with my roommate and I was like, I'm gonna film right now. And then I was like, I held back because it felt weird to film the musicians without asking. So I'm not quite as gung-ho with filming as Casey yet. Anyways, I've been listening to this song, Skin Tight. My roommate turned me on to it. Skin Tight by Mr. Easy and Efya. Oh my god, it's so good. I'd play it here, but YouTube would block the video. Anyways, I've just been like, sort of like grooving to that vibe, just like kind of riding it. Everywhere I go, it's kind of like in the background of my mind a little bit, and I'm just sort of like surfing a wave. My friend asked me if I surfed ever. And I was like, I tried it once, fell off the board all the time. I was like, I should try that. Good. That was a man offering to sell me weed. Normal day in the park. I like this park. It's funny, all the parks I seem to really like. When I first moved to New York, I hung out in Bryant Park a lot, and now I work right near Washington Square Park, and I hang out here a lot. And this place is cool because a lot of musicians play here, and I guess they used to play here back in the 60s, like the folk days. And so the cool thing with the Village is it's kind of got this like resonance, like layers of like history, and I can sort of feel that. And it feels like sort of walking through water. It's like there's like emotion and memory that's almost collectively held in the space. And one of the things about this particular park is that, by the way, in the summer this is a fountain, and there's this guy. He's one of those statue performers, and he brings his own pedestal and he stands in the water, and he wears like a little toga, and just like, he's just this beautiful guy who just like, he looks so statuesque. Anyways, so this park was originally a potter's field, which means they buried all the poor people here. They couldn't have funerals or anything. And I'm assuming they moved the bodies. They did from Bryant Park, but who knows? Anyways, there's something like a history, you know, like you think about burial grounds and like people who came here to remember their various loved ones, and these are like the forgotten people, you know, and very much like the ones who built New York, you know, could have been the ones who built that tower or that arch. Anyways, this is the shit I'm thinking about today. When I focus on my body and sort of let go of the thoughts about everything that's happening in a moment, I notice all sorts of changes and sensations as I move through different spaces, as I'm around different people, as I do different things. And I like to say these days that feeling is our most public act, and I really believe that nowadays, that thinking is actually semi-private. Actually, if you can read bodies, you can read a huge percentage of thoughts, but I actually think that emotion and feeling is this really public thing that society has essentially trained us not to acknowledge and to repress, because everyone else will feel it around us. Anyways, that's why you see a kid like crying, but an adult never cries for some reason. I don't really get it, but this is my theory. Anyways, even if you try thinking about that, it'll totally change your experience of the world. Even if you just imagine that your feeling is public. It's cool. I imagine my own feeling to be like connected to the wind. I just posted a thing on Instagram. I was like, I don't want to control the wind, you know? I don't want to control the water. I don't want to fight the world around me. reminds me of a story from a book called The Tracker. And he takes a guy out, and he's young, takes his kid out into this house, like a number of miles from home in the middle of the winter. There's snow on the ground. He has him take off all his clothes except for his boots. And he says, walk back home, and if you make it, you'll never feel cold again. And he tells this story about walking home, and he's just entering like basically deeper and deeper sort of frostbite and like shock from the cold. And at some point, he, once again offering to sell weed. Well, at some point he tells the story of how he stops fighting the cold. And in stopping to fight the cold, it's like the cold penetrates into him and he somehow becomes the cold. And he no longer feels cold. And that strikes me as very true and possible and resonant with Taoism. And I don't know, in many ways I think that's like Jesus's last words on the cross in John, which have always bothered me, you know, like a giving in. I don't know. Anyways, I'm talking about my Lord, why hast thou forsaken me? You know, this man who lived his whole life based on belief and seems to give it up in the last moment of his life. And some people claim that in that giving it up, it is the greatest sort of acceptance of the faith. And then I'm also reminded of a teacher, Qigong teacher. He would have these battles, these kung fu fights. He didn't really like to talk about them a lot, but when he would have them, he would say that when he won, he would go back to his room or his hotel or wherever he was staying, and he would weep. And the reason for him was that after entering the highest states of yang energy to fight, he had to retreat back into the depth of the yin. And something about that I really understand. Something about that balance of emotions. Something about, I don't know. I don't fully intellectually understand it, but it feels right to me. Anyways, I guess that's what I'm trying to convey as I walk through Washington Square Park, going to work after drinking coffee at Stumptown. I'm telling you, man, Stumptown is like, I guess they got bought out, but they're like spreading. They're doing well. Like, they opened one of the nicest coffee shops I've ever seen, just a block from here. It's super nice. You can never find a seat, but it's an awesome place. And that's coming from Portland and Seattle. Like, this place is up there. Anyways, that's today.